Well, welcome back to Simple Truth. We're trying to pull out some simple truths from 1 Samuel chapter 23, the story of David. Just talked to you last time about this whole concept of, are you counting the cost, right? And David's constantly asking God, are you going to be with me on this? Is this a you moment? Is this a you thing? You things, God moments doesn't mean that there's not going to be a cost for people, right? We've seen that. We've seen that a whole bunch in the story of David. There's a lot of cost involved in following the Lord. But we're in chapter 23. Let's look at verse 5. It says this, "And David and his men went to Keilah and fought with the Philistines and brought away their livestock and struck them with a great blow. So David saved the inhabitants of Keilah." So it was exactly how God said it was going to be. Right? Hey, go ahead. I'm with you. I got this. And when God says, I got this with you, a lot of times what happens is we bring back plunder. I want to camp there for a second, right? Because you've heard me talk about it. God wants to plunder the enemy's camp. Right? The enemy comes in and he plunders our camp all the time. He comes into our churches and he wreaks havoc. He comes into our homes and he wreaks havoc. Our workplaces and he wreaks havoc. All over our friendships. He's constantly plundering. It means he comes away with stuff, our stuff, right? The stuff that God has given. He comes away with God's stuff. The enemy loves that. He loves taking away the resources, the things of God. That's how war has been for years and years and years and years and years. You financed your war campaign by plundering, going into the city, taking it over and taking everything that's valuable, and then that paid for your campaign, your war campaign, your military campaign. And so here's God says that I'm with you. God equally desires to plunder the enemy's camp. I want to take what's mine back. I want to take the things that he has stolen back. And we don't focus on that enough. Being offensive minded. God wants to plunder. He went into the entire promised land and plundered it. You're going to live in houses you didn't build. You're going to have vineyards you didn't plant. You're going to have things that weren't yours. You're going to plunder. Right? God has this desire. I'm animated. I'm excited about it, right? Because we need to start thinking this way. Why are we sitting back and just letting the enemy keep coming into our camp? And we just keep huddling up and trying to protect and keep what's ours, rather than fighting back. When are we going to go into the enemy's camp and plunder? Now, it comes as a cost. We just talked about that last week. You can't plunder the enemy's camp without a cost. It's going to take a whole bunch of faith. It's going to take being with God, working with him, not for him. It's going to take relying on him. It's going to take being in tune with him. When we're out of tune with God, we're not plundering the enemy's camp. Oh, we might do some damage on our own, right? But then the enemy has access to come back and plunder us because we're out of God's protection. So I need you to think this through with me. I would love some comments. All right, the few of you that listen regularly, thank you very, very much. Right? But I would love some comments on how you have, or some ideas of how we can. How do we plunder the enemy's camp? I know we can pray. Yep, we can pray that God does all the work. But God sometimes wants us to work. How can we do that? What are some ideas? What are some ways that we can plunder the enemy's camp? Take back that which is God's. So give me some comments, give me some thoughts. Maybe we'll start something and people will get on this. And who knows what will happen with this whole idea. But when are we going to get offensive minded as Christians? Think like God. We'll see you next time right here. Simple Truth.